brought to justice why Africans blacks have to go through hell 7 times before they are issued visas to enter EU member countries. If the EU believes in what they are proposing to the Gambia, why are Africans being not only arbitrarily deported for no reasons other than being blacks on a daily basis and end up not only being destitute but become insane as a consequence? Are blacks not human beings that should have the human right to go to Europe for a better life after the Europeans have looted and sucked the African continent dry for more than 4 centuries? We Africans will not come to your continent today and bother you if you Europeans stayed in your continent yesterday. The government of the Gambia is making it abundantly clear that homosexual will not be entertained on the Gambian soil for whatever reason, as our culture and our religion forbid such decadent and abominable behaviors detrimental to human existence. However, the EU is welcome to give all homosexuals visa-free entry to EU member states and as well as permanent residency therein. This will allow the EU to give them better protection and freedom they yearn for, since they speak the same language and share the same belief. For the information of the Gambian populace, the following are the items proposed to be imposed for implementation by the Gambia government with their timelines. Concrete benchmarks and timelines reinforced Article 8 dialogue. The EU has expressed its concern over what it views as a significant deterioration in the human rights situation in the Gambia in recent months, notably the execution of 9 death row inmates, the closure of media organizations, and the arbitrary arrest and detention of journalists and human rights defenders. In view of these events, and in addition to a persistent lack of progress made on the commitments undertaken by the Gambia at successive Article 8 meetings, the EU considers that a phase of intensified political dialogue with the government must be launched. This process, foreseen in Article 8.8 and Annex 7 of the Cotonou Agreement, precedes consultations under Article 96 of the agreement. Under intensified political dialogue, specific benchmarks serve as a mechanism for reaching targets with regard to human rights, democratic principles, and rule of law through the setting of intermediate objectives and timeframes for compliance. The draft list of possible benchmarks and timelines below are the EU's proposal for discussion during the next Article 8 meeting. Freedom of expression media, proposed timeframe 1 month. The EU asks that the government confirms its commitment to allow the free operation of independent media in the Gambia. This should reassure media stakeholders that as long as the media adheres to the laws of the Gambia, the government guarantees that they will not be arbitrarily closed and that any closure will be notified by court order as required by law. Proposed timeframe 6 months, the EU asks that restrictive barriers, monetary regulatory to registration and license of the media should be removed. In particular, provision of the Newspaper Act 1994 amended should be revised to allow free-to-charge registration of print and broadcast media, automatic registration of any print and broadcast media as long as prerequisite information is provided. The provision in the Information and Communication Act 2009 should be revised to ensure that the power to suspend, revoke, or amend the terms and conditions of a license lie with an independent authority. In line with the Gambia's obligations under Article 19 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and Article 9 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, whereby state parties are obliged to respect individuals' rights to freedom of opinion and expression, the EU asked the following: a removal of restrictions on accessing and sharing information electronically, which should translate in the blocking of online media, timeframe 1 month. 2, a revision of the provisions in the criminal code that allows for prosecution on the charges of sedition, libel, false publication or false information to a public servant, and which impose prison terms and or fines, timeframe 6 months. 3, revision of laws on freedom of expression and media regulations, such as those laid down in Article 19. Report the Gambia analysis of selected laws on media overview, April 2012, prepared in the framework of the EU, the Gambia NSA program, and provided to government during last Article 8 meeting, June 2012, within 24 months. Death penalty. The European Union recalls the commitments made by the Gambian authorities to the international community, including to the EU in the framework of the Cotonou Agreement, Article 8 Political Dialogue, to consider transforming a then de facto moratorium on the death penalty into a de jure one, most recently in June 2012. Successive UNGA resolutions on the death penalty have called on all countries to progressively restrict its use and to reduce the increasing number of offenses for which it may be imposed. UN standards are accepted by an ever-increasing number of countries, including in West Africa. The Human Rights Committee also stated in its general comment number 6 that even though states parties are not obliged to abolish the death penalty totally, they are obliged to limit its use and in particular to abolish it for other than the most serious crimes. The committee noted further in the same general comment that the expression most serious crimes must be read restrictively to mean that the death penalty should be a quite exceptional measure. All general comments adopted by the Human Rights Committee are binding on the Gambia. The EU therefore proposes the following actions to be undertaken: that the government maintains the reinstated de facto moratorium on the use of the death penalty. Time frame immediate. That the government provides information regarding the recent executions, including the locations of the place of burial, to the families of the victims in line with Article 7 of the ICCPR. Time frame 1 month. Freedom of expression media, proposed time frame 12 months. That the full and transparent review of the death penalty by the National Assembly, including clarity on the method of execution, takes place as required by the Gambian Constitution, sections 18.3. Time frame 12 months. Depending on the review by the National Assembly, proposed to introduce a de jure moratorium on the use of the death penalty. Time frame 24 months. That provisions for the death penalty in the elements of the criminal code and other laws should be reviewed and eventually removed for those who do not correspond to Article 6.2 of the ICCPR, which provides that death penalty sentences may be imposed only for the most serious crimes. And in accordance to General Comment number 6, the Human Rights Committee, which